Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast, where we're sharing stories from real estate investors and how investing has changed their lives. This episode of Inspire to Invest has been brought to you by Honeybee Development Group and Synergy Mastermind. Hey everybody, welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast. I have a wonderful guest here today named Alejandra Moreno. And to give you a little bit of background on Alejandra, she is the co-founder of Honeybee Development Group. She has a strong background in business creation, marketing, and real estate development. In fact, she's working on several really large projects right now that I'm excited to share with you. She calls herself a serial entrepreneur with a track record of building beauty from nothing. And she has multiple businesses. In addition to her development company, she's very passionate about connecting with people and helping individuals find freedom through their investments. She considers herself to be a collaborator and structures her life around creating win-win opportunities for all parties involved. Alejandra created Honeybee Development Group with her partner Mimi Faye, and together they have a vision to create an impact-driven boutique development company with land development projects across British Columbia and Alton, Ontario. So without further ado, welcome Alejandra.
Hi, Serena.
How are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm great. I'm really excited to be here.
Great.
And yeah, it's new to me, and I was just trying to wrap my mind around everything that I would like to share today, and I'll do my best to do it in 30 minutes, I promise.
Yeah, no, I'll keep you on track. So I guess just to get things started, obviously you've got this really robust resume and experience, but where did you start initially? Obviously, I'm sure real estate wasn't always a part of your life. So what were you doing before you became this big, illustrious land developer?
Okay. So I've been doing business probably since I'm 6 years old. I'm one of those little kids that are selling everything that they can get their hands into. And I'm originally from South America, and I'm Ecuadorian. And my environment was definitely different than what it is now. Mm-hmm. And but my parents are entrepreneurs. My family is entrepreneur. In South America, for people that know that area in the world, either you become an entrepreneur or you won't eat a lot. It's one of those things that in order to survive, you need to have some kind of business to hold the family.
Yeah.
And so I came to Canada in my mid-20s, and things really changed for me because this country, which I adore, gave me that foundation to be able to create wealth.
Okay.
So my first business, I decided to, I have a business degree and an import-export processes major. So I decided to import high-end furniture from South America. And I didn't have a better idea than find myself a heritage building in the middle of downtown Vancouver. And it was destroyed. It was terrible. And but the landlord was beautiful. I love this man. And he believed in me. I was this crazy Latin girl with this huge accent at the time. And I'm like, you know what? I can get this thing going for you. I'm going to renovate it. I'm going to make it look beautiful. And I'm going to have a furniture store that's going to compete with Italian furniture. And he's like, okay, sure. So he got me a deal on the rent.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I'll give you a reference, like that place would have rented for 40, 50 grand a month. And he gave me a deal for 20 grand a month.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, good.
That's pretty great. Significant when you're starting out.
Yeah, but I knew that the product was strong, and I knew I could compete with the Italians because I was fortunate enough to start this operation in my own country. So I had my mentors that created this product in South America.
Yeah.
And so I knew the operation from like the inside out because I was the right hand back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I had saved 100,000 at the time, and this business needed $500,000 to get started.
Yeah.
And then I woke up one day and I told my husband, super excited, oh my God, we have the product, we have the place, we only need the money. And my husband laughed and he's like, you're crazy.
I'm
And
sure
I'm
he's
like,
still saying that today.
yeah, he keeps saying the same. It's just that the projects are different and definitely on a larger scale, but
Yeah.
he keeps thinking the same. He still loves me after 20 years of marriage, so that's good. Um, and so within a week, the universe or the energy of Mother Earth, whatever you want to call it, helped me reach people that would believe in my project the way I did. And I raised my first $500,000.
Yeah.
Um, and and up until now, my partners are amazing and we had an amazing journey together. So story short, we only had 3 months of money for operations, and it was a super high risk endeavor.
Yeah.
So from like bringing all the inventory from South America, customs thought that they caught half of my furniture in the beginning, all the showpieces, because they thought I was bringing drugs or something. It was
Oh
hilarious.
gosh.
So I have so many stories, Serena, I'm a storyteller. I can tell you like a bazillion stories on that end.
Yeah.
But we pushed through. We were profitable within a year and a half. A lot of work. I can one day show you all the pictures. So I put my hands and soul and everything that you can think of on that project. I remember I did the count and I worked for 7 months straight,
Wow.
16, 20-hour days. Like I didn't even feel it because for me, it's not even work. I love what I do.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And I'm gonna fast track because we have half an hour. So
Yeah, and what I wanna know is, like, how did you bridge obviously from
that's the and
a
I always
furniture store into real estate?
exactly, right? It's incredible because you can transfer skills, any skill that you have, you can transfer it into real estate. Like you can be an accountant, you can be a furniture store, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be in marketing, you can be in sales, you can be in underwriting. It doesn't really matter what your superpower is. I call them your superpowers.
Yeah.
All of them are transferable into real estate. So fast tracking a little bit, I was able to conceive children. I know it might not like seem as being like correlate, like having a correlation in there, but it does. So I created a lot of businesses until I was able to be a mom. And I wanted to be a mom, I couldn't. So that mother energy that we all have, it was all put into this project.
Yeah.
And God bless me, I have a lot of energy. So I created a lot of trouble. And then when I was able to conceive, I decided to stop. And looking back, I realized that I had enough real estate to support that decision. I wanted to be a full-time mom and stop. And when you come from where I come from, you don't stop. You're just this person that keeps growing, keeps like, because in a way you don't feel safe. Like you're always in this sense of, oh my God, I'm scarce. Like I need to make sure that I have enough. I need to keep growing. I need to protect everybody. Like it's the mindset that you have to be really careful.
Yeah.
And so when I was able to be a mom, I had to stop. That's another story, and I'm not gonna go into that one. But I said, holy cow, I can.
Yeah.
I actually have enough resources that will allow me to have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes everything. When you have that realization, it changed everything for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So while I wasn't working, so I put my operations down and then I started playing with some short-term rentals. I started playing with conversions and because I wasn't working and it doesn't
You just
require
replaced it with other work, essentially.
it wasn't work because like I was doing it at a different scale, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm used to a lot of work. Yeah. So when you're just doing one conversion or one SDR, it's just not a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And then something clicked, and I said, okay, I'm gonna start another master's. So I went back to my husband again. God bless his heart. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, I woke up one day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to study counseling because I want to help people understand the importance of having the mind and the spirit aligned to create abundance. Yeah. And we didn't even realize that we did it. It was this aha moment. And I'm like, oh my God, I can teach this. So then I was so excited. I went to my best friend and I said to her, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. And she's like, no, no. You're gonna suck at this thing. Like, you're gonna kill these people. Like, you're not a counselor.
Yeah.
You build things from nothing. And I repeat that a lot because that's what she told me that day, and it kind of stuck with me.
Yeah. And
She's
to
like,
me,
you
that's
have a
kind of like your catalyst. Like when you think about that moment and that defining opportunity, where you're like, no, like this is it, you know?
it was exactly. And I was like, okay, no, you got a point there. I will probably kill this person if by the third time I tell them to change something and they don't change it up. I just realized that it wasn't my superpower.
Yeah.
But I can put structures together. I can put business together.
Yeah.
I can build teams together. And I said, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna help people in that process.
Yeah.
While I do what I know how to do it. And that's how this whole thing started. So I said, okay, what's the best avenue that I know that can help people reach that abundant state? I don't know anything better in my life. Again, I like brick and mortar. I come from a family, like my brother is one of these crazy tycoons in South America that are all about like tech. And he's gone public with different things. And I love it. I love what he does. And he's amazing. But I like to be able to touch what I create.
And it's the tangibility of it, right? I think that's one thing that I've found. And I mean, there's obviously people that have done well in things like the stock market or crypto or Bitcoin, but there's just something about the fact like people will always need homes and places to live, and there's obviously too many people. So I just think that when people perceive real estate sometimes as risky, I'm like, well, risky compared to what? Like to me, all of that other stuff is risky. Like to me, I like it just the same way that you do.
Absolutely. So one of the beautiful things about why I love brick and mortar so much is because I've seen what it does. Like I've seen the lifts. I know how to create, and I'm not leaving it to the universe alone. I know the universe will match inflation to it. Like, okay, fine. But you can create many different avenues where you can force that appreciation into the asset. And by that, I mean, when you buy something that is horrible and you make it look pretty, when you sell it, it will have an added value. That's what I mean by forced appreciation into an asset. An asset is any house. It can be a bungalow, it can be a building, it can be so many things. So when I decided to do that, I really wanted to be able to condense the knowledge of 30 years of work. And if you combine my partner, like Mimi, Faye, and I mean, I don't even know how many stories where we decided to put them into that brick and mortar, but also make it understandable. So my goal today is to have a very simple explanation of how you can get started here in real estate, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. So if I leave you with one thing,
the whole point of this podcast is inspiring other people to invest so that they realize that no, like you can do this too. You don't have to come from an affluent family or something like that. There's so many people that build this from nothing, and that's where they collaborate and bring other people into the fold. So obviously you've had this illustrious career, and it's also pretty wide ranging. When you look back at everything, what do you think would be your definition of success and something that you're the most proud of?
I would probably say, Serena, success is your capacity to integrate your abundance in every aspect of life. So yes, I specialize in abundance of money. And that's my thing. Now, would I tell you that money will fix it all? No, it won't, but it helps. So I love money and I receive money and I'm very good friends with him. And it's an entity. Money is an entity, but it's also abstract and it's also energy. So you want to make sure that you really embrace and love and whatever blueprint your parents taught you around money. And by blueprint, I mean what you perceive or like the things that you would put next to money. So when I say money, I think about abundance, I think about freedom, I think about connection, I think about growth, I think about teamwork. I think about healthy ecosystems. I think about all these beautiful things around money. So if you don't have that particular thought next to money, careful, because that energy will be tied to that perception of what money means.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I took a course years ago with someone I introduced to you recently, but it was called Agents of Change. And that's what they would talk about. So if you're always thinking, oh, money's bad, people that have money are bad, I don't have enough money. If you think you don't have enough money, you're never going to have enough money. And, that's why they statistically, they talk about, the lottery winners that go back and they're broke again in 5 years. And just a lot
Exactly.
of it comes down to mindset and management and things like that. So I think it's important to obviously have that right approach. But yeah, everyone's got their own ways of looking at it. But it's important to kind of check yourself and make sure your mind's in the right place.
Oh, absolutely. And how do you get started today? So I'll tell you a very simple recommendation for people out there that are like, okay, great, this sounds amazing, and it's all woo, and it sounds great, like, and it wow, and no, it's not like that. It's very simple.
Yeah.
There's this bank that did this marketing ad, and I love what they say. It's like, you're richer than you think. You have no idea how many people I talk to every week, and I can find them in their own financial structure, like thousands of dollars available that they could actually leverage on what they have built. And it baffles my mind. Like, it's just absolutely mind-blowing to see that they just don't know how. So when I say you're richer than you think, I'm not only talking about assets, which, of course, so if you have a house and then you have a little bit of equity in your house, that's gold. And you, Serena, know very well the power of private lending.
Mm-hmm.
So for people that don't know much about what private lending is basically having the capacity to lend your money to somebody that can work it for you. And you have a particular percentage or interest in a particular term or time, right? So that becomes a contract where you say, okay, I'm going to give this person $10,000 and this person going to pay me 15% simple interest for a year. So a lot of people don't know that that's available.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say when I first learned about it, I was like, what? And like we were talking about earlier, I forced appreciation on my primary residence. Not that I wasn't even on my mind. It was just, we bought this house. It was kind of dated. We just wanted to fix it up for what we liked. And I think we spent $30,000 or $40,000 in renos. We had it reappraised a couple of years later, and it appraised 150,000 higher than what we bought it for. Then I was able to use my home equity line of credit, and I used that to buy my first rental property. And then obviously as time passed, that doubled in value. I used that to pay off my mortgage. Then my HELOC went through the roof. And now that's what I've been using to invest with for the last 5 years. So it's not that I had, a giant chunk of cash sitting in the bank, but I used what I had access to. And I think that's important. Like, people should obviously, you want to have the good debt, right? You want to be in debt on purpose. And as long as it's income earning debt, then obviously that's smart. And also the interest is tax deductible. So I think all of that's important, but it's all been learning, right? So I mean, when I first bought the house, I never would have even realized that you could access the equity to invest in that way. So I think sometimes people just, through learning and through networking and stuff like that, those opportunities will become clear.
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. I was talking to my son's teacher the other day, okay? And I think a lot of people really can't quite put one word into me. Like, they're very puzzled about me, and I'm very rambunctious, and like, I'm everywhere, and I have this persona, right?
Yeah.
And so the teacher's like, so what is it that you do again? I'm like, oh, I help people create abundance through real estate. I'm like, what does that even mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so you want more money, right? Yeah. Okay. Do you have savings? Not a whole lot. I'm like, okay. Do you have a house? Oh, yeah, of course I have a house. And it's almost paid out. Can you imagine? I've been paying this thing for 20 years. And I'm like, okay. And I'm grabbing my hair, like, right now I have a ponytail, but I wanted to grab my hair. And I'm like, okay, so how much is your house worth? Oh yeah, it's somewhere about like 2 million. And I asked her, how much do you have like in your mortgage? And she's like, oh, I think I have like 100,000.
Yeah.
And So for people that don't know why, if I could, I would pull my hair out. And she's super concerned about having to sell her house because she's reaching retirement, and she loves her house, and she thinks that she needs to renovate it a little bit
Yeah.
and downsize.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she
But
doesn't
that's the
want to
thing.
do
People
it.
really just don't know
They
what
just
they
don't know.
don't know. And I mean, I say what you're talking about reminds me of something that I was at my daughter's ballet class, and this woman's talking to the receptionist. She's kind of complaining, I work part time. They keep booking her on dates that don't work, and her kids are really busy, and the this and the that. And I listened, and she's complaining and complaining, and like 15 minutes passed, and finally I was like, "Do you mind if I just talk to you for a minute? Like I've been listening to what you said." And I said the same thing. I was like, she's a little bit older. She's obviously working part time. Her kids were maybe in their teens. And I was like, do you and your husband own your home? Well,
Yeah,
yeah. And I said, well, there could be ways you could be making money. You don't have to go worry about like scheduling your part time job around your kids' activities. And they just look at you like you're crazy. But I think that's the thing. It's like I think there's something really beautiful about being in this position where you can share those opportunities and share that knowledge and just let people know that there is an easier way. And obviously you have to start with something,
of
in some
course.
respects, but there are options out there. And for people that can't be active, maybe they don't have the skills that they don't want to, like there are options to be that active person like you are, or the people that want to be the passive, and they obviously intermingle and support each other, right?
Of course. But you know what the funny thing was that day? And I love doing this everywhere I go. I'm like, okay, you just need to know a little bit more. And you did the hard work. Now let your hard work help you reach your goals.
Yeah.
If you want to be passive, because I have a lot of people around me that they are not particularly interested in working the real estate side, but I do have a lot of people on the passive side that they would love to benefit from that.
Yeah.
And so there's one side of that. Now, there's the other side where I know a lot of incredible people that do what I do.
Yeah.
So they are super active in real estate, and they want to be that person, like creating that forced appreciation in the assets.
Yeah.
So if you are one of those amazing crazies like me, then there's so many different ways to get started.
Yeah.
So I didn't start building high rises from like the
Well,
beginning.
of
It's
course
not,
not. Yeah, no one just, like, walks into that and they're like, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna do today,"
yeah.
right? But I think
I
it's a
knew,
matter of bridging that gap for people, right? So I think
of course.
with that being said, I'm just gonna have a little very quick break. We're just gonna have a word from
Yes.
our sponsors. We're gonna come right back. Introducing Honeybee Development Group.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alejandra.
And I'm Mimi, and together Alejandra and I lead Honeybee Development Group, where we deliver exceptional results for properties and projects in the development sector.
So, as co-owner of Honeybee Development Group, I'm here to inspire you. I'm here to give you all the words of encouragement to say, yes, you can do it, and start today. Don't wait until tomorrow.
Build a strong support system and a network around you. Real estate is not a one-person game. It takes a lot of minds to collaborate. So have the right accountants, lawyers, the network of support that can help you and answer your questions so you don't make some very expensive mistakes.
Every real estate investor started somewhere. So please visit our website, honeybeedevelopment.com, and then let's see where the universe is going to take you. Just get that first step.
Thanks again for following along with this episode of Inspired to Invest. In addition to real estate, investing, and running my own brand experience agency for 18 years, I also published a book called The Accidental Entrepreneur in October of 2021. This is my story, and it chronicles how I turned tragedy into triumph to embrace my destiny in entrepreneurship. If you're interested in picking up a copy, you can find the link at serenahomesrealtor.com, and you can also find my link tree with all of the retailers in the details below. Thanks again for your support. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Inspired to Invest podcast. We're here with Alejandra Moreno, and she just had to move to get out of the sun. It's obviously moved around a little bit, so now we're back inside. We're just going to continue along. Now we're talking about abundance and mindset and just, using what you have access to really put your money to use and start working for you. And I think as Robert Kiyosaki would say, an asset is not truly an asset unless it's making you money. So I think that's always very interesting that people look at their homes as their asset. and you'd have to ask them, well, how much money did your house make you last month? In terms of actual cash flow. So I think it's just a mindset shift in terms of what's possible. Now, obviously, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I think when you are taking risks and you're an entrepreneur and you're an investor, there are lessons to be learned and obstacles that you face. So when you think about those situations, what would you say are a couple of the biggest lessons that you've learned so far?
I would probably say you definitely want to know with who you're working with. You want to get to know the company. You want to know a little bit of about the strategy that you're investing in.
Mhm.
I wouldn't go blinded, and I would like to have the best informed decision possible. There's always going to be a leap of faith. And I think you know that very well, Serena. You've done so many different deals. And at the end of the day, there's always risk associated with an investment. Now, there's many, many different ways of mitigating that risk.
Mhm.
So when I choose a project, that's the first thing that I look at. How many exit strategies do I have? What happens if the market shifts? What happens in the interest rates shift? How much like meat in the bone do I have? How much contingency do I place in each project? So I answer those questions to myself before I even decide to jump in it.
Yeah.
So story short, I wouldn't set up a project that I wouldn't invest in.
Yeah.
And I
That
do.
does make sense.
So, and all my family does, all my friends do. Like I hold not only my um financial future, but friends and family, and I call my investor family my gang.
Yep. Yeah.
So I have a beautiful, incredible gang that I adore. And so every time I look at a project, I think on all of those people that have trusted in us.
Yeah.
And I don't take that slightly. And so Mimi, she's hilarious. Like her mom calls her and me, like Mimi's mom's friends. They call Mimi's the mom's ATM.
Oh, that's so funny.
And it's the cutest thing because in a way we are that entity
Yeah.
that was created to create abundance for everybody around us.
Yeah. But I think that's
And
a very beautiful approach because I think oftentimes from the outside looking in, when people think about land developers, they think of these huge corporations that, I think a lot of people think like, oh, they're greedy and there's going to be this old white man at the top and, they're just making millions of dollars. And, there's obviously the philanthropy side and, there are a lot, like I've even met, for example, one of the big developers here and he's given like tens and tens of millions to various hospitals and stuff like that because he's done so well for himself.
yeah,
So, obviously I think money amplifies what you naturally already are. So if you're kind and giving and good-hearted, it will
yes.
just multiply. And if you are that other kind of person, then yes, it's going to take you down that direction as well.
And so again, get to know the person that is on top of the project.
Mhm.
So you get to understand and I see it every time I have a project in my hands. It's interesting because I can see the person through the numbers.
Yeah.
I can see how they structure the deals. I can see the like equity release. There's so many things that, and we can do another podcast on that, on how I look at numbers and
Mhm.
how I structure them. And so if you guys probably many of you guys haven't been in an info session, it's a different demographic, I think. But for people that have been in our info sessions, you'll know that our structure is incredibly generous to everybody, because if the financial partners and the working partners are not growing at par, it's not going to last. And then, so we have right now 9 development projects, and every single one keeps getting bigger and bigger because our family or gang is getting bigger. That's all. And they can see that the soul, like every company, every entity has a spirit.
Yeah.
And a culture.
But I think that to me is smart and very strategic because at the end of the day, if you have all these investors that, for example, say you offer an estimated return, you come back and you double that return. Well, they're going to come back and they're going to bring everybody that they know with them, right? So I think it's very, very wise in that sense, where there have been some
Yeah.
instances where, people have been almost held hostage in deals and they run on for so long and everyone's getting anxious around them. And, I think in those cases, that company could probably, cash them out, bring in other investors or take money from other projects or do something. And they don't. So is anyone going to invest in them again? No. So
No,
I think how you handle your investors will really make or break you in the long run based on how you treat them. And again, just having that level of integrity with them.
absolutely. And at the end of the day, you realize very quickly that this is a people's business. We deal with a lot of brick and mortar, yes, and that's the end asset.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're creating a culture, creating a town of people that we work together towards growth. And I think that is where you want to be. You want to find that person that you feel that you're part, and you are. So in
Yeah.
our community, and you can see it, like, because like for people who don't know, like Serena invests in our company quite a bit. So it's another layer of another way of doing business. So we do bring this differentiation around having that proximity to the people that are creating these beautiful structures. And that energy is contagious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you're telling me is true. Like right now we have a lot of referrals coming from all our like investor gang town, and it's another entity that's growing on its own.
Yeah.
And for me, it's humbling to see that our work is able to support so many families. So I don't see the money, I see the people, I see the person and their kids. I
And
see,
you see the impact. So I think,
and I see like I have this incredible investor friend. She has lived out of our operations last year. She's like, I don't want to work right now. And she has enough money invested with us that allows her to have this incredible lifestyle. So she's been skiing for the past year in every single continent. She's following the mountains, and I get to do that.
yeah.
And
Yeah, no, I
that's
think
an
that's amazing,
incredible
right? Because I
feeling.
think a lot of times people think about the money, but the other thing is the time, right? So I think that that's huge. But I guess moving along to my next question, obviously you've got all this experience. What do you think is some of the best advice that you've ever been given?
Say that again.
What's some of the best advice that you've ever been given?
Oh, I have two very good ones. Uh, so when I just started my furniture store in downtown, I was so lucky. Well, stars align, and I think I have two beautiful like guardian angels that kind of oversee all of what I do. It's incredible. I see them actually operating in my world. Story short, I had this millionaire, I think now he's a billionaire, but staying in my house for a month. So this person could have gone to the best hotel in the whole world. And it just so happened that his wife is related to my husband. And I'm very good friends of her, and we've gone to many meditation seminars together, and we're just very close. And I adore this woman. She's another angel in this planet. And so she's like, I want to come and hang out with you with my three kids. And I'm like, I have a tiny, like, 2-bedroom apartment in like Cambie and 16th, but yeah, sure. Why? Why? I have a bunk bed. Like, and no, why? But they spent a month in my house. And so this person, and I've been thinking about him a lot, he doesn't even know what he created in me. And so I was talking about my project and like working 7 months straight and all this and that, and and I was so proud of that hard work because I was taught to work that hard.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a sense of identity. Like if you don't work that hard, like your sense of worth is just not there.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful with like what you think, really.
Yeah.
And this guy came to me and he was so kind. And he said, your business will be as big as your brain. And as your brain gets bigger, and you have a bigger envelope where you can hold more, then your business will grow more.
Mhm.
And it hit me like a brick. Like, I can't explain what happened, but it was this moment where I'm like, everything that I was taught, everything, like the poor dad, rich dad it's a thing. Okay. I love this, guys, people. Don't do this. Okay. So if you do this, okay, just try to do this. It's gonna come off again, and then we're gonna do this again. Okay, guys. Um, so when I realized that my blueprint, or how I was raised, what I was taught, was limited.
Yeah.
And yes, I did well. I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
People think, and my husband always says, I don't know if you were brave or stupid or something, probably in the middle. And thank God it turned out okay, right? And all the work behind it and all the brains behind it. But so whatever you have in that head of yours, like really look at it and see what are your beliefs. Mm-hmm. So for 20 something years, my prayer in the morning, it's always lift the veil of what I can't see.
Yeah.
So I create more and I help more.
Yeah.
And I see it every time. So that was one of the most powerful things that were taught to me. And I will be forever grateful for that one conversation. And the other one, when I started this, I have my mentor, I have multiple mentors actually. Yes, get a mentor. Yes. Hey, get a mentor, or 2 or 3 or 4. And one of my mentors, I was like, oh my God, I'm so tight and I'm doing all this, and you need a team, so hire. Oh, but I'm so tight, my budget is so tight. And then you need to hire.
Yeah.
But what are you talking about? Like everybody. And then in my perception,
yeah,
my mindset at the time was just at that stage where I said, no, I'll pull enough and then I'll make sure that we're okay. And then they're like, no, it works the other way.
Yeah.
You don't have money. You need a team to make money.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need to free yourself up to bring in more opportunities. So that was one of the biggest changes that I had in my business when I had one of my coaches. And, he was very generous with his time. We actually spent 8 hours at his cottage for our first meeting, and he deconstructed my entire company. And he's like from everything, like finance, business. And my first task was to hire a bookkeeper, because he's like, you're spending anywhere from
so much time,
a couple days a week on this. Like, I'm not even a bookkeeper, so I'm like suffering and struggling through it because I don't even know how to do it the right way. And my challenge was, how do I communicate all these people that we're paying? Because it could be a couple people or it could be hundreds of people, right? So we developed a system to basically communicate that to the bookkeeper. And then, there was a little bit of growing pains with it. But then I went from, hours to days, a week, to like hitting a button and just transferring money. So our sales doubled that year. And then they continue to grow like 30-40% year over year for every following year, because I wasn't wasting time on something I could be paying someone to do. And I was freed up to focus on the things that really matter, like building my team and bringing in sales, right? So I think that's incredibly important. You're not the first person to talk about the importance of team, right?
Absolutely. And then I think the third one, he was the kindest person to teach me about investments. Yeah. Okay. So one day he said, do you know what I do with my kids? He didn't tell me to do it. He taught me what he was teaching to his kids. Mm-hmm. And so what he said is, okay, I helped them to grow $1,000. And I told them, if you save this money, it's saved. But if you invest with me and grandpa, we'll give you $100 every 3 months. And then it was this whole thing. It was this beautiful game. And I do this with my kids now.
Yeah. Yeah, but it comes down to financial literacy, right? And I think that's one of the biggest gaps right now with not only just children, but society in general, right? Like it blows my mind that we're not teaching this in school. Like people are coming out and they might know about
they have no
geography or geometry or like all these things that really, like, unless you're in a very specific niche, you're never going to need any of it. But they don't know how to budget. They don't know how to manage money. They can't hold on to money. They don't know how to, they don't even understand the concept of investing in some instances, right? So I
The
think
concept
that,
is so foreign, and it was to me.
yeah.
And I told Mimi this one day, and we were talking about it. It's like so fun in my 20s. In my family, like my nook, they never taught us this. Like they were always like surviving, like a lot of like
Well, my
issues
family's
and
the
problems.
exact same way. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that that's uncommon, right? So I
It's
think we are
not.
the people that can be the trailblazers in the sense that you want to inspire people to continue to invest and learn and grow because otherwise, you can't, in this day and age, really depend on a job to serve you. And if you lose your job, if you get sick,
Yep.
if a life event happens, like,
Yep.
it's investing that's going to support you, not your job and just like a regular place of employment. So I guess with that said, obviously we've talked about a lot of different things. What is next for you? Like, where do you see your path going with Honeybee?
So my goal is super simple, and I'm completely laser focused towards my goal, and I don't budge goals. So my goal is I will build 10,000 doors and 10 hotels in 10 years. And so that's the goal. So that's next for me. So I have multiple projects that are in place and multiple projects that are coming that are aligned with that goal. And the reason why I decided to put that particular goal is I love brick and mortar. I love the people that are in brick and mortar. I can support humans in the process.
Yeah.
And not only the suppliers, providers, employees, investors, but also the people that will live there. I'm an immigrant.
Yeah.
I'm first generation, friend. So I see how many people come in here and they don't have a place to live, or they have bidding wars for rent, or there's just not enough inventory.
Yeah.
And I just saw this thing, and it's like, where did all the houses go? Like, there's this whole
There's just too many
question,
people,
where?
right? So I think that we can't keep up with the population that
We
they're
can't keep
bringing
up.
in immigrants to service, I think, certain parts of the economy that maybe people who are here already don't want to do, or they're losing some of those skills and those trades and stuff like that, right? So I think when
There's
it
so
comes to
many.
real estate, for people who are interested in investing, I think development is probably one of the best courses of action that you can consider taking, just because there is such a need for it, more so than just flipping a property or even
It's not only,
retailers.
yeah.
Everyone has their niche, but that's really where the huge opportunities are.
And I think from depending on where your journey is, so, and I see this a lot. So when somebody is in a state of scarcity or need, you can't see more than you.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you need to do is put the mask on and help yourself. So yes, you're richer than you think. So with the assets that you have, do something. I don't care what it is. And learn. Like,
and do something the right way. Like, just don't go shopping.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
You
obviously.
need to create wealth. Like, so you need to learn. So put that mask on and then get to it.
Yeah.
And then when you come into this place of comfort, right, you can choose to stay there and just cruise. And then what happens is there's a sense of purpose. And that's an incredible place because, yes, when you're comfortable, you get a choice. And I was there when I was 36. And that was an incredible, amazing feeling. And I was so grateful. Like, gratitude is so powerful. Yeah. But you can only drink so many margaritas, man. Like, it's crazy.
I think everyone needs a sense of purpose, right?
You do.
For both of us, when you have small children, that's an appropriate time to take a pause
and
enjoy that time, because it is very fleeting.
And absolutely.
Then you kind of regroup and then decide kind of where that next step is.
And that's when I think... and I talk to so many incredible people that are in different seasons. And so I always ask somebody that I meet, okay, tell me what your season looks like. Yeah. And so for me, it doesn't even feel like work, because I'm completely aligned with what my legacy is in this world. Yeah. If I get to inspire one person to think that they're richer than they think, that they are self-reliant and they can do things differently, just by thinking and feeling different, the universe will align to a different type of living.
Yeah.
And it's
that's again the whole purpose of this podcast is to try to inspire people in that way. And I guess when you think about, inspiration, are there any particular quotes that you feel like personally inspire you the most?
inspiration. Oh, I would probably say, I don't know, post, like, again, I'm ESL, right? But I can give you one that it resonates with me, and it starts with gratitude.
Mhm.
So if you're in the capacity to be in whatever season you're in, whatever life situation, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of sorrows, everybody. And I'm going to tell you something that my great grandma used to say to me. I adore this woman. She passed recently. And so she used to say, you walk into anybody's home, you're in the foyer, and then if you scratch a little bit on the ceiling, a little bit of crap is going to come down. I love that, because you talk to all these people, you see all this social media, you saw this like amazing, crazy, wow. There's always a little bit of crap under that roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say with that is suffering is embedded in the human experience.
Yeah.
And you want to be kind to that. You want to accept that stage wherever you are, because something will be not quite there.
Yeah.
But being able to have gratitude and acceptance will help you catapult your life out of it, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
If it's abundance in money, abundance in love, in peace, work, relationships, like it doesn't really matter what it is. So if one say I could give you is find acceptance and gratitude within you.
Yeah.
And a lot of things will change.
Yeah. Yeah. A mentor once told me, focus on the roots, not the fruits. Take care of the roots, the fruits will flourish. That sounds cheesy, but obviously it made
It's not. That's a good one. Yeah, no, that's a pretty incredible one. I love that. I'm gonna actually keep it. And yeah, I would probably just start there.
Yeah.
And the other one is you can learn a lot of things. You cannot unknown something. Like you cannot take knowledge out. So hopefully when you listen to this, you know already a few more things that have helped people that are in a state of choice or in a state of purpose.
Yeah.
So you cannot unknow something. Yeah. So do something with it. Yeah. Just take action. Yeah. So I see a lot of people in this paralysis analysis stage.
Well, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. I mean, there's even people I know that I've talked to, about the options available, and it could really help them. And at the end of the day, like they don't trust anyone. There's fear of loss. And, I think my answer to that is always just to educate yourself and diversify as much as possible. So obviously don't put your eggs in one basket, but the people that are also talking about, the fear and the risk, they're also the people working one job that have one source of income. And it's like, well, you know what? You get in a car accident tomorrow, you get sick, you get laid off, that's gone. So
life will teach you.
If you have plenty sources of income coming from different streams of investment, I think that's just the smartest way that you can protect yourself for those unknowns that happen to us in life. But I know we've already gone a little bit over our time, so I just want to be mindful of the fact that you are very busy. And obviously I wanted to thank you for being here today. And for anyone that wants to find you, how can they look you up on social?
You know what? Go to honeybee.development on Instagram. We post a lot of our journey there. We try to offer as much as we can. And I always say, I'll give you everything I know, and I mean it. And I want to see you grow. And so follow us on Instagram. If you want to contact me directly, you can also go to Alejandra Mimi REI on Facebook, Alejandra Moreno on Facebook, Alejandra.honeybee on Instagram.
I'll share some details below for everybody too, so that they can look you up. And obviously, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for anyone who's joining in. If you've liked this episode, make sure you subscribe for future episodes as well. And make sure you're following along at Inspired to Invest podcast on social. Thank you. Thank you again to our sponsors, Honeybee Development Group and Synergy Mastermind, for bringing you this episode of the Inspired to Invest podcast. The views represented on this podcast are for general information only and does not constitute investment or other professional advice or an offering of securities. The host and guests featured on Inspired to Invest make no representations as to the performance of any particular investment. Should you decide to make an investment, you are responsible for conducting your own review and analysis. It is recommended that you obtain independent legal, accounting, and tax advice from licensed professionals.